Live from the Icebox Studio in Montgomeryville, Pennsylvania, it's the Bill and Corey Show. I'm Bill.
And I'm Corey.
Welcome back. Now we got something special this week. We've got the live chat enabled in YouTube. So if you have any questions, just chat them in there and hopefully we'll take care of them. Got a good series of questions today. First one's kind of long. Might take me a couple breaths to get through it. Okay, I've got a Matheson Regulator, part number 1, PA 510. You got the wrong one.
I got the new one.
Okay. It has a decal that says not to exceed 400 psi inlet pressure. Can I change my gauges to 4,000 psi inlet pressure and 50 psi outlet pressure without rupturing the diaphragm? The current setup is about 5 years old and no leaks, but I need it to handle my CO2 argon for my MIG. Okay, you can start.
Thank you. So this is our 1 PA regulator, 510. Well, it's not a 510 because it doesn't have anything in it. But we last sold these about 20 years ago, right?
Yeah, we stopped selling about 20 years ago.
Yeah. And so these are a little bit older of a regulator, but still, as you can see, quality regulator because it still works. Now, this one, we do not recommend changing services for regulators. Whatever you're using it for, just keep using for the same thing if you need to buy something new because you don't know what gases could be in there and things. So we always recommend buying a new regulator if you're going to use it in a new service. The idea of changing out the pressure gauge is a decent one, but because sometimes that is the limiting factor of a regulator, but in this case it isn't. So the diaphragm in this one is a spring diaphragm, and
it has a spring on it.
Has a spring on it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And the spring's only rated for 400 psi inlet. So you have some regulators that are, like Corey said, a lot of times it could be the CGA fitting or the gauge that limits your pressure. But in this case, and there's other, we had a line regulator we used to sell that had 400 psi inlet pressure, and it was because of the spring that was set up there to get the decent amount flow, that over 400 psi, it just wouldn't be able to hold back the pressure, and the gas would just blow right through.
And we also sell line regulators for 400 that can handle higher pressures, but we put the gauge on it, restricts it.
Okay. So that's part of it. The other thing that you need to take into account is changing the outlet pressure. Now, the acetylene regulators are set for 15 psi max delivery pressure, and you cannot change, well, then you'd have to change the outlet gauge, which would be 15 psi. But you can't change it to 50. You just can't turn the knob out and get 50. It's just not going to, or turn it in and get 50. It's just not going to work that way. The other thing to take into account is that it has called elastomeric. It's a fancy name for a rubber diaphragm on there. And over time, rubber can get brittle and get stress cracking in it. And this regulator is at least 20. The one you have is at least 20 years old, and it could be even older. They started making this regulator back in the 60s.
Oh, that's right. You forgot to mention the awesome thread.
Yeah, and then from the 60s to the 80s, it had a different thread on the inlet, a half 27 thread. I don't know why they did that, but then like the one Corey showed you did have a half 27 thread, so it's even older. So it's like 30, 40 years old. So this would be a replacement regulator. It's the model 18. It'd be, well, PA for acetylene, but you could get a different Model 18 regulator for your application.
That will work for your CO2 argon mix.
And something to add is with older regulators with elastomeric diaphragms, CGA recommends that they get serviced every 5 years. That's to ensure that you have a safe working regulator. So I think we covered everything on that. Now the next question is about, do we have a cylinder handling video? And quick answer is no, we really don't have a cylinder handling video yet. But we do have, I wanted to show one of our cylinder carts. We sell this in our online store. It's a 6114, it's for one cylinder. up to 12 inches in diameter, so it won't handle your
Dewar.
Well, obviously not a dewar. It won't handle like your 15-inch propane cylinders or anything like that. It's got a handy strap on it. We've got large pneumatic wheels. They're kind of nice. And the ones we sell them, the only ones we sell and the only ones we use in our facility are four-wheeled ones. That gives you an extra level of safety in there. If you were to, a lot of people use the two-wheel cylinder carts, and the problem with using those is if you lose your grip on it, now it falls. Your cylinder falls. So we use the four, and in our facility we have routine inspections of the carts. We get a little checklist. We have someone who goes around and checks them. We check them on a monthly basis. If you have them, you should check them on a regular basis. Might not be every month.
And we also have different people check them just in case, you know, new eyes on it. You never know what another person could miss.
Yeah. Oh, is there a weight limit on the cart? There's a question that came in.
It's a good one.
Yes, there is. I don't have it memorized. You can see that on our online store.
Yes, always go store.mathesongas.com.
Yeah, I want to say 1,200 pounds, but I might be wrong on that. But yeah, there is a weight limit on the cart, and that's something that you need to take into account when you get a cart. Is look at the weight limit on that, because that's going to be important. And you know, you don't want to put a cylinder that's too heavy on there. It's not going to work. So.
All right.
Okay. You want to move that out of the way?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. You can start.
Okay. Next question. It's a combination question. We need to filter nitrogen that we use to purge air from a 55-gallon drums of essential oils. This application is in a food facility. The goal is to prevent foreign material from entering a drum of essential oil from the nitrogen cylinder.
So the question was asking about a filter, but I want to talk about our Purge regulator first. This one is a dual stage, and as you can see, it's 0.1 to 2 psig. So it doesn't put a lot of, obviously you don't want a lot of pressure just to purge and protect something. So this is our Purge regulator, and it has a flow rate of about, well, it has a CV of 0.15, but it flows.
Well, it flows, our rated flow rate is about 20 liters a minute.
Yeah, but it'll get the job done. And this is the filter that we would use. This is a particle filter. It goes 0.02 micron filter in here. And as we all know from filters from a previous episode, the more you use them, the better they filter.
Yeah. Yes.
And so this has a very high flow rate, so there's nothing wrong with that. 250 SLPM with a 15 psig difference. And yeah, so this will get your gas filtered very nicely. It has, I don't remember what the filter material is off the top of my head. I think it's,
I don't have the memory.
Yeah.
That you can find the information on that filter.
store.mathesongas.com.
Yeah, store.mathesongas.com. We got a selection of filters and purifiers. This one will work for this application because this regulator will handle 20 liters a minute, and that filter will do 250 liters a minute. So that'll work out great.
And it'll protect whatever you want to protect.
Yeah. Okay, and this is a question. This came in late last night, and I thought it was a good question, so we added it onto it. So it says, hello, we have an LPHF 580 regulator from Nitrogen Gas Dewar, providing gas for a laser cutter. We currently have the dewar set at about 450 psi, and the output of the regulator is set to about 440 to 445 psi. The laser cutter is requiring 250 psi at 58 CFM, and they're saying 3,500 standard cubic feet an hour, and faults out at about 10 seconds later due to low pressure / flow. Do you know if this is a function of the dewar set too low or on the pressure regulator? That's a really good question. You'll have people have low flow conditions, and they don't know, why is the cause of it. Most people will think the regulator the cause. In this case, it's most likely the dewar. This regulator can easily handle at those flow rates and pressures probably 4,000, 5,000 cubic feet an hour, maybe a little bit more. And the dewar, I'm not sure exactly what dewar they're using, but your typical laser laser sill dewar, which is a higher pressure dewar for laser applications. Has a max flow rate of 575 standard cubic feet an hour, so that's quite a bit below. When people see dewars and they think, oh wow, it's got a lot of gas in there, you're going to be able to get a lot of flow out of it, but you probably don't get as much as you think you can get out of it. Now that is still a significant amount of flow, so you might want to consider, well, there's a few things with dewar. One is pressure building coil. You want to be able to turn that on so you can get a higher pressure to help get things going. And also you might, in this application, you might want to consider getting a manifold and getting a series of dewars set up there so you can spread it out, get a bunch of laser sill dewars together and handle your flow right.
Yeah, one of the things that helps flow is, the differences in pressure. So when so in order to get higher flow, you got to increase the pressure on one side if you want to increase your flow on the other.
Oh, we'll go back to 6114 cart. The weight limit's 1,000 pounds.
All right.
So, okay.
There we go. Would you estimate it at 1,200?
At 1,200.
It's pretty close. I'm not, Price is Right rules don't work.
That's still a lot. That's a lot. It's pretty heavy.
It is a lot. You can carry that's like 4 humans.
Yeah, something like that. And what do we got for the last question? You want to talk about, we had a question come in about...
This is very similar to a flow rate.
Yeah.
So we had a question, customer was not getting the flow rate through our PurGas Inline filter that's the advertised flow rate is 25 liters per minute. And he wasn't getting that flow rate out of it. So we took one and tested it. And again, just like before, the pressure difference, if you have a higher pressure difference, you get more flow out of it. And so we're still trying to figure out this particular customer's setup to see what could possibly be causing it. But yeah, so that's about it.
Yeah, so there's a significant pressure drop. So if you start out, this one I think it was we took a 100 psi inlet, and you could get, these are rated for 20 liters a minute.
Yeah, 25.
Okay, 25 liters a minute. But at that flow rate, then you're dropping down to like 50 psi, 40 psi. So it's a significant pressure drop. And then with purifiers, there's two things that establish flow rate. One is how much flow you can physically get through there. The other is absorption rates and stuff for purity levels. So just because you can get the extra flow through it, that doesn't mean you should try to get the extra flow through it.
And if you want to learn more about our PurGas purifiers, go to the store.mathesongas.com. We have a bunch of different ones, and they work really well.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's all the questions we're going to handle this week. Please tune in next week at 10 o'clock on Thursday.
Set your VCRs.